but it gets worse. This whole clip got a lot worse. Here we go.
You can make that direct comparison. You don't need to pay attention to political analysts like me, where I'm saying one is a little bit more heavy on the details than the other. You'll be able to see that.
How much does that permeate the debates, John? We've had one thus far, and Elizabeth Warren has all of these plans, all of these proposals, as Serlina is saying. How does that manifest itself on that debate stage? How much does it matter when you have these two candidates side by side, the granular detail in a plan like that?
Well, I think it matters a lot because Elizabeth Warren has branded herself as the more practical of the two, the more concrete of the two, and she's been kind of eating his lunch for the last couple of months.
She had a plan for that, arguably.
What's that?
She had a plan for that.
She had a plan for that.
Another ridiculous statement. Another ridiculous statement. Yes, some polls have shown Elizabeth Warren rising. She is rising. Here's the most recent Iowa poll. Bernie Sanders in second place. Not so far behind Joe Biden. This is CBS YouGov. Here's New Hampshire. Bernie Sanders in second place. Elizabeth Warren trails him. Here's South Carolina. Biden is kicking everybody's butt. Let's just call it what it is. Elizabeth Warren is in a distant fourth place. Bernie Sanders is in second place. Eating his lunch. Yes, she had a very good fundraising quarter. I give her credit. I reported on it. Bernie Sanders still out fundraised every single other person. And let me find that if I have it. Yeah, we have it right here. I already reported on this. We got exclusively status quo. Nobody else had it. Bernie got 450,000 unique donors. That's 450,000 450,000 different people donated to Bernie Sanders' campaign in April, May, and June. That's what the second quarter is. Elizabeth Warren had 384,000. Bernie Sanders had 1 million donations. Elizabeth Warren, 683,000. Bernie Sanders, $10 less, the average donation. She raised $1.1 million more. Credit to her. The overall numbers, it's not even close. Bernie Sanders had more donors, had more actual donations, and has a lower amount, which shows even more grassroots support. And Bernie Sanders, by the way, she's eating his lunch. He's had a record number of donations. Record number of donations. 2 million donations in 4 months. So you could say Elizabeth Warren has been doing better. She definitely has risen in the polls. Eating his lunch. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's just one lie on top of lie on top of lie on top of lie. It's absurd. So then this clip turns to what I think was just, the anchor has a responsibility to shut this down. I'm sure you've already seen it. If you haven't, here it is.
Look, the difference between running as the only alternative to Hillary Clinton, who is a baggage-carrying establishment candidate, not a terrible candidate, but she had problems, is much different from running in a field with 20 people, including people who share your values and your approach, who are more effective in certain respects politically. Elizabeth Warren's also a Democrat. Bernie Sanders is not a Democrat, and he did not do especially well with self-identified Democrats in the 2016 election. He did better with independents. So I think that Elizabeth Warren has done a very effective job so far. Can she keep it going? She has some problems of her own. We'll see.
I like that Bernie Warren spoonerism. Put that on the bumper sticker, perhaps. Let me ask you lastly, maybe just, how you study these debates and look at these debates, how you think that this distinction is going to be made on the debate stage in Detroit.
Well, I mean, look, first of all, I think what the first debate showed us is that they do make a difference, right? I mean, we've already had at least one candidate drop out. So, it feels like this is going to narrow it further and further. I think, having Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren next to each other will really highlight, because for me, as, again, I'm not the political analyst here, but just as a woman, probably considered a somewhat moderate Democrat, Bernie Sanders makes my skin crawl, and I can't even identify for you what exactly it is, but I see him as sort of a not pro-woman candidate. And so having the two of them there, I don't understand young women who support him, and I'm hoping that having him next to her will help highlight that, because those are the people that if I were her, I would want to say, well, why are you supporting him and not me if you're going to choose between the two of us?
We're going to leave it there. Come back in just a moment. Mike Memley, thank you very much, joining us from Iowa this morning.
Maybe you should go to a dermatologist. So let's take a look at who this quack is first. Mimi Roca. She's a distinguished fellow in criminal justice at Pace University, graduated magna cum laude from New York NYU School of Law. She was also an assistant United States attorney in the Southern District of New York from February 2001 until October 2017. I didn't have a lot of time to really look into her, but I'm pretty sure she's a pretty big-time lawyer. She worked for the Southern District of New York, who is the same Southern District investigating Trump and his businesses and possible money laundering. I think she's wealthy. I can't confirm that. It really doesn't matter, to tell you the truth. But what's amazing to me about that clip is that on a news network, again, I say news loosely, an anchor allows a guest to say, I'm not the political analyst. So she's already saying, I don't know anything about politics. I'm not qualified to even talk about this. Okay? Which is fine. You don't need to have like a master's degree in politics to talk about it. She already says, I don't know anything about anything. I can't really tell you why I feel this way. I don't know what I'm talking about. But he just makes my skin crawl. And the anchor, a responsible journalist, a responsible journalist would say, all right, well, let's hold up. I mean, can you point to anything? Because that's pretty strong stuff that you think you're basically saying he's anti-woman. I mean, do you have anything to support that other than, like, you don't like his accent? Or, you don't like his glasses? I mean, that is absurd and it's offensive. And that anchor, frankly, should correct on air some of the record. Because if somebody wants to go on and say, I don't believe we should eliminate private insurance, and that's why I'm not for Bernie Sanders, or I don't believe that we should we should give free public college, or we should cancel student debt, that's fine. We could debate it, and they will be proven wrong. But to just spew this vitriol, and by the way, I would say that also, like, if I just went on MSNBC and CNN and was like, I don't know, Kamala Harris, she makes my skin crawl. Can you imagine what would happen to me? If I just said, I can't say why. I just think that Pete Buttigieg, like, there's something about him that just makes me want to jump off a bridge. She wasn't qualified to discuss it. But putting that aside, the anchor, because this is their goal, to knock Bernie out. Not just MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, of course. It is so irresponsible. It's not journalism. It's not even just propaganda. It's dangerous. So I'm just going to borrow from this guy, Davis Tom. I should have looked. Hold on. I don't know who he is, but credit to him if you want to follow him on Twitter. Heard you said that Bernie is anti-woman. I would like to point you to some history. In 1972, a year before Roe versus Wade, Bernie ran on a platform saying, it strikes me as incredible that politicians think that they have a right to tell a woman what she can or cannot do with her body. That was the year 1972. That was the year 1972. You know who said something different just 2 years later? So Bernie, before Roe versus Wade, said, it's mind-boggling to me that men feel they have the right to tell a woman what to do with their body. This was Joe Biden in 1974. Never gets mentioned in the media. I don't think that a woman has the sole right to say what should happen to her body. No, not making it up. This is something Joe Biden said in an interview. I don't think that a woman has the sole right to say that, to say what should happen to her body. This is in 1974 when he was in his 30s, not 10 years old. And Bernie Sanders, who in 1972, a year before Roe versus Wade, says, it strikes me as incredible that politicians think they have the right to tell a woman what she can or cannot do with her body. Bernie Sanders is the anti-woman candidate? I mean, you cannot make this shit up. And in a sane news environment, Joe Biden would be asked, well, why did you say that in the 1970s? What did you mean by that? What made you change your mind that women should control their own bodies? And by the way, if you took a survey, how many women that watch CNN or MSNBC do you know have ever heard that quote that Joe Biden said? My guess, 0. A few more from Davis Tom. His account says David Tom, read bio. Feel free to follow him. Bernie's 1972 governor election profile, a feminist view of the Democratic and Liberty Union candidates. Bernie Sanders, mayor, the working women's ally. An affirmative action which brought women into well-paying construction jobs, and how it challenged the ideological assumptions about women holding unfeminine jobs. Do you know, in 1991, Bernie Sanders tried to add an amendment to Civil Rights Act of 1991 that would have ensured that race and sex discrimination would be treated identically under federal law. 1992, breast cancer in America today is a tragedy of epidemic proportions. And he had a plan and a bill. The Senate version became law in October 1992. Without the Freedom of Choice Act, women will need a computer program and a travel guide to find a safe and legal abortion. Bernie Sanders on him pushing the passage of Freedom of Choice Act, April 1992. Bernie Sanders' 1994 op-ed about his House resolution to urge the insurance industry as a whole to abide by the established guidelines of the pediatric organizations. But it's just insane. Listen, if you don't like Bernie Sanders, if you're a corporate hack, if you're a greedy motherfucker who says, I'm going to eat my cake, you're not getting your Medicare for all because it will make me lose my money. If you want to say, I'm going to eat my fucking cake, I'm going to drink my champagne, I'm going to eat my caviar, and you can go fuck yourself with your little single payer and your little free public college, and I'll let the planet burn if it means I can go out 5 nights a week, then go on TV and defend it. Okay? But do not smear an actual public servant who's been fighting for women probably longer than you've been alive. Here is Harvard University Institute of Politics poll. Among young women, Bernie Sanders narrows to 5 points, 29% for Sanders, 24% Biden, O'Rourke in third with 9%, followed by Harris with 7%. So apparently the younger generation of America likes them and is feeling the burn. And by the way, there's a lot of older women that like Bernie Sanders. And by the way, this doesn't mean...
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.